It's the biggest matchup of the weekend. In the AFC, we have the 9-0 Chiefs traveling to the 8-2 Buffalo Bills, a game that should have, by year's end, some big seeding implications. The Chiefs win this one. I think they have the one seed pretty much wrapped up. But the Bills, if they win it, they could easily get back in that conversation for that coveted bye, because there's only one of them nowadays. So, B-Mac, I'm going to start with you. What are the matchups you're looking for to decide this one?
Well, let's go back to last week's game for the Kansas City Chiefs, right? We know how the outcome played. It was a blocked field goal that led to them being victorious. But they got outplayed in that ball game, especially offensively with Pat Mahomes. So what I'm watching, I'm watching to see, can Buffalo repeat some of the success that we saw from the Denver Broncos when it came to rushing the passer. That left side of the offensive line has been very, very vulnerable for the Kansas City Chiefs, and it was exploited mightily against the Denver Broncos. And because of that, we saw pedestrian-like production coming from their offense, coming from their star quarterback in Pat Mahomes. If Buffalo can get that same relentless-like pressure against Pat Mahomes, there lies the opportunity for them to do what Denver could not do, which is finish the game and win the ball game. But if oddly enough, if Pat Mahomes gets the time, you know he's going to find the open pass catchers for their offense. It helps because they potentially might get Juju Smith-Schuster back in the lineup as well. So that's what I'm watching. Can the Buffalo Bills put the relentless pressure that is needed for them to be successful against Kansas City? Denver did it for 4 quarters. Oddly enough, they didn't protect when it came to the field goal attempt, but their defense was harassing Pat Mahomes from start to finish. Can the Buffalo Bills have the same success?
B-Mac, hey, man, you get out of my head here, okay? Because that left tackle position is so important for the Kansas City Chiefs and what they want to get done. When Patrick Mahomes gets to the top of his drop and he's able to plant that foot with conviction, knowing that his edges are taken care of, blind side and front side, he's the most dangerous guy in football. He's the most creative dude. There's no way to stop him. But when you have that threat of the blindside rush getting home and the idea that not only a sack is incoming, but potentially that terrible word in a shootout, a sack fumble, a sack turnover, something that could be potentially drastic, because since you picked the O-line, D-line matchup there on the left side, I'm going to go with this as the big matchup. Who will have the ball last? That's what it comes down to with these quarterbacks. You cannot be the group that gives up a big play in the pass rush on a third down or otherwise. No extra possessions. That's the matchup.
I got to be with B-Mac here. It comes down to, can the Chiefs pass protect better than they did last week? Because they did not deserve to win that game. Like B-Mac said it. They got outplayed. And yes, they've snuck by a few times this year, but the Bills are a different animal than the teams they've faced on their schedule this season. They will not let you do that, especially with that offense. Now, it remains to be seen. A lot of injuries up in the air in this one, whether it is Wanya Morris going at left tackle or Kingsley Suamataia, because that's a big difference in what we saw.
It'll be Wanya Morris, and he's way better. And you're doing this, you're fear-mongering right now, Mike, for Chiefs fans, and they're going to be much better off with Morris. Suamataia, too young. He doesn't understand some of the things that the left tackle position, including getting out of his stance. We talked about it on PTP. Wanya Morris does a better job. Chiefs fans can sleep a little bit more easy knowing that.
Even still, he's going to have to block a guy like Gregory Rousseau, who's one of the best pass rushers in the NFL so far this season. 41 pressures on the year. The guy is a monster. So it ain't an easy matchup. I don't care who it is out there. And then for the Buffalo Bills, are these receivers healthy? Because they're likely without Keon Coleman, Amari Cooper banged up, Dalton Kincaid banged up. If those guys all can't go, there was a reason why they traded for Amari Cooper. It was they didn't have someone who could separate first man coverage. They did not have that go-to guy on third downs. If their go-to guys, Kincaid, Amari Cooper, are gone, they're guys who could probably win on third downs consistently, it's going to be very tough because the Chiefs challenge you at the line of scrimmage. That is a defense that will come right up in the face of your wide receivers and not let them get off the line of scrimmage if they're lesser dudes, if they aren't guys who have that release package to get by you. So I'm worried about the Bills if that's the case, but I'm worried about the Chiefs with their offensive line. So both teams have these big worries on their offensive side of the ball. I think everyone wants a shootout. I think we might unfortunately get a lower scoring game in this one. No one wants to hear it, but I think we might.
Mike, you talked about the injuries. Spencer Brown was on that report this week as well. You know, you rattled off so many names I didn't even get to hear if you said Spencer Brown. I'm going to have to run the replay back. But if
I did not.
he is down, if he is limited, then look for the games to be run on that right side with Karlaftis and Chris Jones. And those guys can make mincemeat of a lesser version of a starter. And if you roll somebody out there that's not Spencer Brown, that quickly becomes the matchup to watch.
Yeah. And when you talk about these two quarterbacks, two of the more entertaining, celebrated quarterbacks in the National Football League, but to you guys' point, we might not see a game where they're relying on their arms. We might see a game where both offenses are relying on the rushing attack because you don't want to become one-dimensional if you're Kansas City offensively against the Buffalo Bills, knowing that you've been vulnerable protecting your quarterback. And then for Josh Allen and their offense, you don't want to just rely on the passing game, knowing that you might not have a full list of starters at the pass catching position. So the running game would be overly important for either side because there is some concerns when it comes to the passing game for either elite quarterback. So I think that's an underlining, impactful, intriguing spot to watch. The running game. Who will outrush the other? You know, will Isaiah Pacheco be back? We don't know, but Kareem Hunt has done more than a serviceable job filling in. And Cook has been in the kitchen cooking all year long. So can they get, you know, the running game going for each offense to kind of take some pressure off of the issues when it comes to throwing the football?
And we saw it a couple weeks ago when the Bills faced the Dolphins. That second half, the Dolphins had whatever they wanted on that wide stretch zone running game. And then we go back to their last loss against the Ravens, week 4 for the Buffalo Bills. Derrick Henry went for almost 200 yards. So that is where this Bills defense is susceptible. They want to live in too high. They want to put a cap on your passing game. They want to keep everything in front of you, but their gap control along that line of scrimmage can suffer, and they're light as can be at the second level. So those 220-ish pound linebackers for the Buffalo Bills, if you can get guys like Trey Smith, guys like Creed Humphrey on them at the second level, you might have some big creases for these running backs to run through.
Hey, even that, Mike, that's a great point. That interior three, we talked about it last week. They lead the league in rushes 4 to 9 yards. They haven't been able to get explosive. With that light second level, Kareem Hunt is no skinny dude. So he's going to be able to potentially run through some of those guys, create those explosives that they've been lacking in the running game.
So the second matchup we wanted to highlight in this game, Patrick Mahomes in that pocket against these tackles. What's he going to have to do to mitigate? Because we said Wanya's going to play, and he's likely, and not likely, is a massive upgrade over what we've seen from Kingsley Suamataia. But even still, it's such a difficult matchup when you have Von Miller and Gregory Rousseau on a third down. One pushes the pocket, the other gets to the top of the pocket, and it really makes things tight for him. So what do you do, Kyle? Or what do you do as a quarterback in those situations when you know that basically your tackles are going to be struggling?
So I expect the edge, the left tackle's outside shoulder, to be threatened the entirety of the game. So Patrick has to understand that the utmost of importance is planting that foot and driving up into the pocket and getting behind that surefire dish of the left guard, center, and right guard. At the right tackle position, you got Juwan Taylor, who really tries to take advantage of the snap count. We see a lot of people say, oh, he's false starting, he's false. No, that's a guy like Lane Johnson who understands how to get out ahead of the snap legally, and he does so, which will take Von Miller's explosive ability off on the edge. So I'm more concerned about the up and under and the over the top on the left, or up and under on the right, over the top on the left. So it goes back to what Patrick talked about this week. All the issues we've been having in protection, some of that is my issue. Some of that is I need to step up in the pocket, get rid of the football. That's how you can help your O-linemen. That's how you can become their best buddies, stepping up and getting behind that interior three.
And also, too, rhythm throws, 3-step drops, getting the football out of your hand quick to establish a rhythm, to not allow guys like Greg Rousseau and A.J. Epineza to collapse the pocket. Because you look at what those two guys have been doing, they combined for over 10 and a half sacks. Those two guys alone, Epineza and Rousseau, they've been the best pass rushers for the Buffalo Bills, and they have been relentless in doing so. So when you talk about the speed and athletic element that they have, their ability to bend the corner, especially Greg Rousseau, he is a long, rangy guy, but he can get low and run that hoop to get around the tackles, you better believe they're going to be peeling their ears back. So what you want to do, you talked about the schematic side of things, Kyle, and how to attack this pass rush and help the offensive lineman. But when it comes to the scheme, rhythm, quick throws, empty sets, quick slants, allowing Travis Kelce to work the middle part of the football field and curl up and just get the football out of his hands quick, because you don't want to get in second and long situations or third and long situations where you have to hold the football and go through a 4 to 5 step drop. There lies the opportunity for your issues to be exploited.
I 100% agree, B-Mac. That's why I think DeAndre Hopkins is a big key to this game, and I expect him to have a big game or be featured big in this offense, because in an interesting quirk, he knows these Buffalo Bills corners. He actually faced them in Buffalo in week 7. So this ain't his first rodeo going up against these guys. I think he could have a big game and needs to have a big game if the Chiefs are going to win this. All right.